My name is Menelik Shabazz. I am a film director, producer, writer. Have been working in the film industry for the last nearly 40 years. I got in by chance. It wasn't something that I initially had a passion to say I want to be a film director when I started off. And it was because I couldn't get into art school. And I ended up going to college to get additional O-levels that I needed at the time. And while I was there, we had a social studies class, and these guys brought in this new equipment, which was this kind of video portapack, reel to reel. And that fascinated me. And they allowed me to kind of work with them and do stuff with them as I did, So that was a spark. And then from there, I kind of got an interest in want to make films, because I had an artistic background. I also had a kind of radical activist background. And from there, I ended up going to film school. I have been a radical activist, child of the Black Power movement while I was at school, from 14 years old. I was inspired by Malcolm X's book, African American History. That kind of was like a bomb in my brain. Pow! Explosion. Because up until that time, I didn't really think that black people had any contribution, had real history. And because of the brainwashing that, we grew up with in the 60s and so on. And so that opened me up. And then also at the time, it was a time of Angela Davis, the Black Panthers, and so it was, the Afro, so it was a political and cultural revolution that was going on at that time, and I just felt I had to be part of it. And so I then had a vision of who I am in the world, and also aware of the racism that I hadn't been before. And so all of that was inside of me, and because I was also a creative soul, I wanted to express it. I wanted to express what I was feeling, what was happening. And the very first film that I did coming after film school was a film called Step Forward Youth, which was really a film to counter the kind of negative portrayal of young black people at the time. And so the programs that were made was always portraying them as a problem. And so I wanted to make a film which was showing them, as real people. The story of Lovers Rock film came about because I was reading a newspaper and I saw this advert for this big show, Lovers Rock Gala Awards. And all the major reggae Lovers Rock artists were performing. And it struck me as a kind of historical moment, because we were at a time when most of those artists who were big at the time are now coming to the kind of twilight years of their careers and stuff. So it struck me as a kind of historical moment. And so that should be documented. I wasn't thinking about a film. I was just thinking, look, we need to document this. And so I approached the promoters, and then we had an agreement, to shoot the film or shoot the show. And in that process, I thought we can do more with this. And so it kind of evolved from that moment, really. I didn't have a kind of pre-idea about making a film about Lovers Rock. It was really in that moment, it was a spark. The film is based around the concert, the Lovers Rock Gala Awards. So that's all the performances in the film come from that show. Off that, it was interviews that I did with various people who were connected with the movement, and that wasn't really difficult because the people are around. It was only the recognition or the understanding that some of the artists passed away, like Louisa Marks, Gina DeBambo passed away, and it kind of confirmed my sense at the time that we need to record, and these artists. Pulling the film together was for me, a partly organic experience because it kind of one thing led to another. So it was, okay, I need to have some interviews to support and tell the story. But also, I wanted it to be entertaining. I didn't just want it to be talking heads. So then I had to think about what elements can I add to it to make it a cinema experience, because from the very beginning, in my mind, it was clear it had to be a cinema experience. I didn't want it just to come out on DVD and so on, because again, it doesn't give you the value that I was, that was my intention. Using comedians in the film was more a spark. I didn't think about it when I started the journey. It was only when I thought about adding other elements. And Lovers Rock is really about nostalgia. And so the comedians, they then bring that greatness and that bring that nostalgia and evoke it in a way that no other way, that the music can't do in that way. And the interviews can't necessarily do in the same way. So they bring that other element. And so for me, it was about making the film an experience of joy and laughter, as well as kind of, the other elements that we put into the film. Nostalgia is fundamental to this film. And nostalgia is something that keeps people connected to something for their whole life. Do you know what I mean? If you hear a record when you were in your teens and you love it, you're gonna love it for your whole life. And the artists who sing that song, you'll go and see them, and they can live off, like some of the Lovers Rock artists have just lived off making one song. I mean, at the time I was making it, I did think that that was very important, and especially at the very beginning of the film, I wanted people to kind of be transported straight away into that experience. And so we then got into the dance, which we brought in young people to do, because I wanted to, in transporting people back, it had to be young people dancing. And so that was important, as another element of the film, in addition to the comedy, the dance elements. And the interesting thing about the dance elements is that we had to bring in young people to do it. And of course, the young people don't know how to dance like that. In fact, it was very strange for them. And we had dancers, some of them, to come in. And the idea of dancing and being so close and looking at somebody straight in the eye, or being that close to them, frontal, was very, very strange. In fact, one of the girls went home and asked her mum if this dance was legal. The thing about that dance and the ritual that we had, it was, it empowered the women, because the man had to ask a woman for the dance. And the woman will look at you and determine whether she wants to dance with you or not, according to how you smell, how you look, how tall you were, whatever, what you dress, whatever women decide. And so that was a stage. But then once the woman accepted that you were the person that they're going to dance with, you then had to lead, and then determine what kind of dance you're doing. Valuing our culture is something, again, that we don't do enough of. And Lovers Rock is a kind of example of, the value of the things that we do that we just take for granted. And then somebody else will come along and pick it up and then run with it. And then we're left kind of saying, oh. So it's really about the value of our culture. And so this is what the film has been able to do. Lovers Rock now has a value that it didn't have before. I'm currently shooting a film titled Looking for Love. And it's about black male-female relationships in the UK. I mean, it was sparked again. These sparks, when I make these films, they just start with a spark. And the spark was a young woman who was at an event. She got up and said that she was single. She was 25. And she just thought, well, it was, she felt that was an issue for her, being single. And as I began to talk to more people, I found that there's a lot of single people out there, and also men. which was kind of unusual for me to kind of know there's so many men, young men out there that are single, going through depressions and doing all kinds of things. And it was like, whoa, what's going on? And so that's kind of was the start of this idea of making this film about, looking for love. But it's more about relationships, relating, and looking at the deeper psychological patterns that are playing out in what's going on today.